Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it's a kind of a topic talking, and as the title would say, do the characters really stay dead? Um, so I've been to see a lot of films recently of this year, and some of them have kind of re-sparked this kind of the whole, you don't want to kill a character and bring him back and stuff like this. And I'm not going to mention anything of the films from 2023, so please be aware there's no spoilers or anything in this. I'm keeping it free. It's just there may be films of this year that have something to do with this. So kind of as I cast my mind back, and this is thing, when I was a kid and stuff growing up, and obviously of the people of my era and stuff like this, Transformers is how I want to go. Obviously, I've done a live stream on it, and this is where we go. So there was a time in the 80s and stuff where characters came along and you killed them off, and that was it. That's what they did in the animated Transformers movie. You had Optimus Prime, and they killed him off because it was for toys. It was built for toys, and they wanted to get rid of a load of toys to bring in new toys to make money. That's the whole point of what the Transformers were there for. Totally understandable, probably. The reactions to that was quite shocking from what I read online. I never watched this as a kid. I watched this as a teenager, a late teenager, because I was so young when Transformers first came out. I kind of caught of it on the end wave when kind of this had all happened and they had already brought it back. But the thing that gone on is obviously they wanted to do, there was a reason for it. They wanted to kill him off, and unless there was a bigger outcry, they would have never brought him back. To this day, I think it actually makes work, really credible. But the fact that Brawn and Ironhide and Ratchet, Prowl as well, all of these are killed off quite early. Megatron's killed off, Starscream's killed off. Insecticons are killed off. So many characters are killed off, and apart from Optimus Prime, none of them are really brought back. Some of them are kind of converted to other stuff by Unicron, and that was good. So back in the day, you had stuff where nothing could really change. If people died, they stayed dead. It's Star Wars. They killed off certain people. Yeah, they came back in as a spirit form, but they weren't a physical presence. And the spirit, the spiritual form made sense because they're all part of the Force and stuff like this. Same with Terminator. Obviously, Terminator, they were robots, so it made sense in these films. Maybe a little far-fetched of Superman 1 where he flies backwards around the earth and brings Lois Lane back from the dead. Yeah, but a little bit far-fetched, but it's kind of in realms with that story. And obviously there have been loads of ones. I mean, and as we've gone on, it's kind of, they've always kind of used the death factor as shock. They kill people off within certain films, and they don't normally bring them back, or they haven't for a long time. And then you started to get into the late 90s. So, then it started to become a little bit more common and stuff. So, like the Matrix, obviously, Neo, he has to die to kind of become the one. If you've not seen the Matrix now, it's 24 years old, so I'm hopefully not ruining that for you. And other stuff. Comics have been very prominent in doing this, of killing people off and bringing people back, and if you've seen like Endgame or Infinity War, they kill half the population, so to speak, or the world or the universe, and they bring them all back. Everyone knew that was kind of coming. It wasn't a big shock. There was so much going on with loads of other films that it didn't deter from them doing that. But then you go to more recent movies, so let's go like with Transformers. So Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen, Optimus Prime, he gets killed like about 30 minutes into the film. Surprise, surprise, they bring him back. But they've killed other people for that or anything, and they never bring those back. It's just the popular character has to come back. People not wanting characters dead or always screws up stories. Like if you've ever watched the Heroes TV series, the first series, Silen's supposed to be killed by Hero, but because he was so popular, they kept him alive, which is why the ending is not that great of season 1, and unfortunately due to a lot of other things of the writer's strike, it just went worse. It's like people have ideas, stop screwing them with them to try and bring characters back, and then you get to a point where, like Star Wars, so who's the big evil behind it? Oh, it's Palpatine. We brought Palpatine back. Oh, it's the Justice League. Just before, oh, they killed Superman off in Batman Superman. but you know he's in Justice League and he's going to come back, and there's this. I don't know what it is with Hollywood of late, and then keep doing it in franchises. Is literally they're killing characters off, and you sit there and you like, when they're not dead. It's like, what is the point of killing someone off if you know they're not going to stay dead? It just kind of demeanors the character, and you know, and even as I say, I can't say anything about films I watched recently, but obviously this has come up in a few times in a few things I've watched. I watch a lot, so that's not really giving much to away. But then it just started to get my mind kind of thinking, you know, when I bring some character back, if they have a valid reason and it makes sense, use it. Like Alien Resurrection, you know, they kind of, if memory serves me right, they kind of clone Ripley and then she comes back as fair enough, that's understandable there. You know, they've cloned her and they cloned her for a reason. I don't mind that. It's not like they literally, in the span of a film or a continuation of films, of they kill them off and then bring them back again. You know, it's if you've ever seen Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, obviously Gwen Stacy when she hits her head at the end. Now, that was a really hard moment. That's a really hard moment in the comics. Now, if they had brought Gwen back for the last Spider-Man, I think a lot of people would have been annoyed because it, you know, you kind of, that whole pivotal moment and was such very good storytelling or taken from the comics that was a good story and then converted to live action and stuff. You know, you kind of demeanour that people fall in love with the character and that it's such a big impact of death, and then you went through all that and then you go, oh no, she's magically back because it's a multiverse and stuff like this. Or it's like, or you know, say like with Palpatine, it's like with the Star Wars thing, there's so many characters out there in such a big universe. Why did it have to be Palpatine? Why do you have to keep returning characters? Probably same with Optimus Prime. Like if you knew he was only going to get bigger and stronger in the first place, why kill him off? And even like in later Transformers, they're like, oh well, you know, when Sentinel Prime is, oh he's not dead, he's just kind of in a hibernation mode where he needs energy. And I'm like, yeah, but Jazz got ripped in half in the first one, so surely he's just lack of energy, you just put him back together, and that never happened. Ironhide got blown to smithereens, but I mean, I suppose with Ironhide and stuff, like their body melted later on, but Jazz, he was still in 2 bits, they could easily reattach him. But it isn't done, and this is why it's selectively them choosing like popular characters. And I just think, I say specifically when like I use the Revenge of the Fallen thing of, you know, when you're watching a film and very early on someone gets killed off, and then imagine like bringing back, or they, you know, or even like in I'm trying to think of mythology. I did write a list of this down, but I can't all place it to my head. But you know, it's like when, oh yeah, we've magically got the Vard, it can bring back someone from the dead, and you're like, oh, I'm chasing after my wife or my husband or my child, and they're going like that, and just at the very end someone gets stabbed and killed even though they've managed to survive about 2 hours and like 20 different fights, and you're like, oh well, I'm going to use it on my friend. And it's just like, it's too, you know, it's too easy to see, it's too for me it's like too blatant out there, you know, like. And obviously the more and more Hollywood start doing this, the more and more I say you get fed up. I mean, a lot of people, from what I hear from the comic side of things, of Marvel and that, you know, you're fed up. I mean, they killed Steve Rogers off a little while back. He got shot by crossbows, but he didn't. He got shot with a bullet that displaces him in time. And it's like, oh, and they bring him back in, it's like, oh well, what's the point of killing him off? And then, like, you know, they kill certain characters off and then they come back and then they kill someone, and you know, and you just get fed up to the same thing of no one ever dies. So it's like anytime there's a threat on someone dying, if the more and more Hollywood are going to use this exactly like the comics have, you will just get bored and you will just be like, oh, they've killed someone off, and you're like, well, they'll be back, and it just loses the whole point of it. Whereas I say, you go back to like 80s and 70s films and stuff like this, and you know, when someone is died, they're normally dead. And I say there is one exception to my rule, and it's kind of the Scream one, and it's the one I always say to my wife: if you don't see a body, they're not dead. And that I don't mind. That, you know, if you've seen the Scream films or something, if someone looks like they're dead and then you don't see a body and then they come back, and I'm like, well, that's fair enough. They haven't killed their character off. It's there to try and confuse you because there is a killer, and that is the whole point. And I think in those kind of horror genres and horror, you know, story types, that's acceptable because obviously it's kind of, a lot of people die, whereas in other films it'll say like live action stuff and like the action adventures and stuff, killing off certain characters, you know, and then kind of bringing them back. It's even, you know, as essentially, like, you know, Ben, even they kind of killed him off at the end of Star Wars, but then they kind of brought it back, but they didn't, you know. And it's, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is something I wanted to put out. I mean, to say, I mean, I'm getting very much sick of it when someone, you know, I'm literally there, like in a film, if someone, you know, if it's early on in the film and someone dies, or even if it's near the end of the film and someone dies and you know there's another film, I'm already sitting there like going, they're not dead. And it just, you know, it defeats the purpose of it. And I say the only kind of, you know, the only one that I would say kind of goes outside that is, yes, you know, Endgame, because it did kill half the population off, and you know they weren't going to get rid of like Black Panther and everyone else and Peter Parker and stuff like that. I understand that, and that was for the bigger story, and you know that's why that was there, and I totally understand that, and I think that's more acceptable because it was on such a wide scale. Whereas if it's just like your main character, like in Batman and Superman, you know, they're bigging that fight up and bigging it up for ages, and then they kill him at the very end, and then they're like, oh, the next one, he's, you know, he's not dead, and then it's the same way of like he killed General Zod. It was a big thing. Superman doesn't kill, they killed him, and then they turned him into Doomsday. You know, it's just like, why do you keep going for the same, you know? Why do you have to keep reusing characters and stuff like that? I haven't seen Flashpoint at this time as well. I'm not talking about the film, so I don't know if this is mentioned or stuff like this happens. Flashpoint, I think, is a bit different when you go in different dimensions. But anyway, that's been enough. Yeah, please let me know your thoughts down. You know, are you getting fed up with this? Do you like it when they kill characters off and then bring them back? Or do you agree with me? Do you think when they kill characters off, that's it, they should stay dead? I mean, I am, for the most part, fed up. You know, I don't mind the odd person maybe coming back, but I'm just, yeah, fed up. It seems to be a regular thing for Hollywood, for movies and stuff like I'm watching. But anyway, I've been Cypher Sigma Screen Time. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll definitely see you in the next one.